Greetings fellow Salt Ancestors, and welcome to another video on solo RPGs. Today I want to talk to you about Witch's Cat, which is a solo journaling RPG which I backed as part of Zine Quest 2024. So it's a small little indie project about being a witch's cat, obviously. Sorry, pause. You see this W right here? Witch's cat, yeah. Look, it's a cat. Okay, silly things, but whatever, I'm easy to please, I guess. But this is one of those where the finished product actually really rather impressed me, because not only is this zine actually very well printed and well laid out, but also it came with this little sort of promo tarot card, which is the Hangman, except it's a cat hanging there, cats is, pointless with cuteness. And it also came with a sheet of stickers, which, is not big for me, but I can tell you that my kids have had their eyes on this ever since I opened this package, so they're very pleased for me to finally be filming this video so I can hand over the cat stickers. So that is what I have in terms of production quality of the Witch's Cat. Again, this was the Kickstarter version. I don't know if sort of the printed edition retail, so to speak. I mean, it'd still be like small, sold off of Etsy, I think, will come with, for example, this little promo card. But either way, adorable. So this is another card where you would use a tarot deck to actually design your prompts. And it's actually very interesting the way it's done. Basically, you build, or you pre-generate, I suppose, 2 different piles of 9 prompts each. This pile here represents the events that are going to happen around your cat, or most likely affecting their wishes. So again, if you're not very familiar with the layout of a tarot deck, as usual, we have a bunch of major arcanas. There's 22 of those. And then we have, the rest is basically in 4 suits. We have pentacles, wands, swords, and cups. They range from 1 or ace to king, except much like a regular deck of cards, except there's an extra court card in there. So there's usually a page in addition to a queen, a knight, and a king. Anyway, the point is that when you're preparing to play this game, you draw a certain number of cards from a pile, which contains a certain number of major arcanas on both. And these are like major events that you will draw. And so again, like the way that the prompts are designed is very interesting to me. Like it's sort of slightly random, but not quite. And I really appreciate that when trying to build a narrative. Anyway, sorry, back to the intro. You are a witch's cat. You can do amazing magical things to help your wish fulfill their goal. But you're also a cat, and you need to do cat things. So a little bit of intro on the Witch's Cat, little safety, material again, a tarot deck, a journal, pen and pencil. This is journal. I played this one a lot, sort of theater of the mind. I just sort of imagining the scenes. Because again, I was just writing a little brief paragraph. Anyway, it goes a bit faster, snappier. I like that. This game is actually not very long either, because you basically go through 9 rounds and then it concludes. So it's also nice sort of, finite little game. So well done on that front. So to set up the game, again, it says a task desk and a cat desk, which I've done already here. It tells you how to do it. So 10 major arcana with a bunch of cards from the sword, wands, and pentacle. Then you draw 9 cards from this and you mix it all together. Same thing with the cat deck, 4 random major arcana with all of the cups. And then 9 cards from that, and you have your 2 decks of cards. And then you start defining your witch. So this is sort of set up for your story. So what is your witch's name, gender, appearance, etc. Now you don't have to answer all of these questions, and there's no sort of prompts to help you out, but I find that it's fairly intuitive. Even if you just want to draw on like very big cliche, that's perfectly fine. How long have you been with this witch? What kind of neighborhood is it? Is it a swamp-dwelling hermit? Medieval royalty, hermits, divination, medieval royalty. Maybe your witch runs a surf shop in 1950 San Diego. Or perhaps they are a present-day high school student in small New England town, etc. So again, this sets up a bit of your story. Again, you build on the witch stereotype, I'll say, that you want to really experience. Then you talk about their coven. So what are their coven like? Are they spread across great distances? Do they rarely meet? Are they all over the place? What's their goal? And finally, a rival for your witch. So another witch in a coven, that they hold a grudge against your witch. So what is that based out of? So this just sets up the backdrop, so to speak, to better direct these prompts when you draw them. Likewise, you create your cat. And they come up with different cat archetype. They are numbered, so if you want to roll a d6, for example, you could do that. I personally prefer to read through all of them. So, for example, the captive would be an ancient primordial spirit. Eons ago, a witch trapped you into this furry form. You are bound to serve a witch until you find a way to escape their service. Even with death, you are reincarnated as a kitten. You obey your witch begrudgingly and look for every opportunity to foil them. If you fail 3 tasks, at least one of them is a reverse task, we'll come back to that, then you transcend. And transcend is sort of like the win condition for your cat. It doesn't have to be. I think I decided to go with the accident is the one I went with. You were born a mundane cat, but one day you wandered into a witch's home and accidentally ingested a potion. Oops, now you're a magic cat with a taste for elixir. Your witch hasn't taken you in so much as you have claimed their home as your own, awaiting any opportunity to get your paws on their supply. So if you succeed at 3 tasks, one of which is a coven/1 task, then I would transcend as a cat. So that's the one I went with. But anyway, there's again 6 different kinds of cats you can start. You can also, of course, develop your own. And then you add a little bit of personal touch. So what does your witch call you? What's your real name? The one that cats call you. How old are you? And what do you look like? And what's your favorite cat treat? Again, just backdrop for your story. And then the gameplay, which is actually extremely simple. First, you draw a card from the task desk at the beginning of each turn. These tasks represent the situation you and your witch are in. They may span a few minutes or several days. They are generally quite general. Wow, I'm recording this quite late, I'll be honest. It's like Monday evening. Trying to get this done for tomorrow morning. A little tired, but I did love this game, so I'm really trying to do it justice. There are different prompts you can draw. So the swords card always represent monster and mayhem. If you draw a wand, it's a coven event. A pentacle has to do with the neighborhood. And a major arcana represents the epic challenges that you may come across. And each one of these are either upright or reversed. So a bit like tarot is supposed to be read depending on the orientation of the card. These prompts take into account also the orientation of the card. So keep that in mind as you're shuffling your deck, because you're going to have to make sure that there's, upside down cards. And the second thing you do is from the cat deck. Same thing, you draw it, you know the orientation. The cup cards represent everyday cat tendencies. The major arcana represent curious adventures. And basically you would do this 9 times, 9 events, 9 things. You see if you meet your cat win condition or not. That's basically how you play. So the mechanisms are quite simple. And the way that you decide if your cat sort of wins an encounter or not is whether or not their card is facing upright or upside down. So I will say there's not a lot of strategies to this game. It's really intended to be creative. And in that sense, I think it does what it does. And you can't get the greatness of this game until I read you some examples. So I'm going to, for example, generate this encounter here so you can have a look. So if we look at the 9 of Swords, a wild but non-magical animal terrorizing the neighborhood. What is the animal and where did it come from? And it's upright, so the animal poses a danger to your witch as well as the neighbors. Your witch is determined to get rid of the animal and tasks you with helping. What is the plan to assist? So I'm not sure. Maybe it's raccoons turning over garbage bin, but they started going into houses to raid the cupboard and my witch's reagents are getting taken away. So she wants me to help maybe guard the cupboard. And then I would go into the cat prompts and look at the King of Cups. Now, in this case, reverse is not the prompt again as how much my cat was able to help. And again, even if my cat didn't help, doesn't mean the witch wasn't able to thwart whatever threat was going on. It just means that I was more or less useless in helping. But for example, the King of Cups is, there is a mouse, bird, squirrel, or other helpless creature and you feel the need to hunt. Describe the thrill of the chase and its consequence for your task. What do you do with the captured creatures? Is it a meal, simply a plaything, or perhaps a present for your witch? So let's imagine again that we have some raccoons. They're not magical, but they're breaking into everyone's pantry, stealing things. My witch was planning on catching it, but there's a coven meeting tonight, so she puts me in charge of guarding the pantry. Like a good witch cat, I said, absolutely, I will guard this pantry with my life, and I sit in front of it. Until I see a mouse. It's taunting me, I swear it is. And so I can't help it, I chase it, I run after it. It drags me outside the house, that's okay, I finally catch it in an alley. I proudly bring it back to my witch, and as I walk in the door, I notice the pantry has been raided. And the witch is staring at it, staring at me holding a mouse, with something that looks like disappointment, which I can't quite understand, because I brought her a mouse, so what's the problem really? And that would be, for example, this one encounter. If we were to look at this deck and perhaps throw something, oh here, let's do a star, because that's a major arcana. And I'll just draw another random cat. Okay, so in this case, it's the Queen of Cups, but it's upright, so it would be a successful affair. But if we look at a major arcana for them, we have the star. Sorry, I'm not very good at guessing. Okay, there we go. The star. A ritual has gone wrong. You and your witch have accidentally switched bodies. What was your witch trying to do, and why did it fail? Upright. A coven elder has stopped by for a scheduled appointment. To avoid embarrassment, you must pretend to be the witch until the elder leaves, and your witch can perform a ritual to fix the situation. If you fail, your witch loses a bit of standing in the coven for the rest of the game. If you fail, and this is the reverse prompt, so again, very cool thing about these event situation is the reversal, because it does add a lot of replay. Reverse, it would be your witch knows how to fix the problem, but it means you have to do the witch part of the spell, and your witch needs to do the cat parts of the spell. Your task is to learn to do the witch's magic. If you fail, you're stuck in the witch's body for a time. Shuffle the star card back into the task desk. You and your witch remain switched until it's drawn again. So that's kind of cool. Again, it adds like a little bit of extra to the game. So now in this case, let's go back. It's upright. So Coven Elder is stopping by. I have to pretend to be a witch even though I'm a cat. And my cat event, that's sort of throwing a wrench into this. Cat event, Queen of Cups. You've got a really large hairball to hack up. What expensive surprise do you leave the hairball on? Describe the way this unpleasantness complicates your current task. Okay, so maybe like, okay, I'm in the witch's body right now. I'm not feeling good. Maybe I'm not used to my human body. Feeling kind of weird. Maybe I'm thinking that's what like coughing a hairball would feel like if I was a cat. I'm thinking maybe humans do this. So I start hacking, kind of spit a little bit on the tea tray. The Coven Elder is kind of freaked out. I try to cover my tracks by talking about this weird herb I've ingested that's making me weird. But because it's upright, I do manage to like save face a little bit. So basically the Coven Elder would like scoot off in the shadows and the cat would keep coming. And that would be another prompt. And this one would be a successful prompt because it's facing upright. So my cat would have managed one of 3 tasks it needs to be to transcend. And this would go on until I've used up all 9 of these prompts. At which point I am guided towards the endgame prompts to sort of wrap up my story if I want. For example, if the cat didn't transcend, then I could keep playing again with the same cat until I do. There is also a bit of a, I don't want to say advanced, they call it an epic showdown mode. But basically, you get a sneak peek at the final task, which is kind of neat because again, like everything leads up to it. So it might help some players to draw a bit more of a logical stories, like it would give a bit of an overall direction if you're trying to tie everything into a culminating moment. So that wouldn't be a bad touch. I haven't played it that way because I don't feel I need to personally, but I appreciate that it's there. And I guess that's the Witch's Cats gameplay. Again, I've mentioned how adorable I think it is. I don't want to ruin too many of the game by reading you the prompts, but they're just, it's obvious that the author has had cats and loves cats. It's just so very funny, like some of the things that happen, like you get the zoomies, for example, or you're supposed to focus on a task and you can't because there's a mouse, or like it's a very good, quirky, fun, feel-good moment of being a witch's cat, trying to do your best to support her, but you can't help yourself being a cat, and that's just what it comes down to. And that's the game. If you're interested, I'll put a link in a comment where you could look to get your very own copy. I don't know if this is going to be sold PDF. I assume it would be. If so, I mean, again, I do love the quality of the print. I love the Hangman Cat. But I will say that this is one that would play well PDF-wise, because there's not that much flipping back and forth. Like, you don't have to double check a lot of rules. You just look up the right prompt, you make up your story, you move on to the next. So this could be a good one to own electronically if that is something you would be interested in doing. And having said this, I will wish you a very good night.